Members, why don't we get started and
Found it.
we have a couple of new faces here this afternoon, so I'll just ask everybody to introduce himself or herself. I'm Raymond Paredes, chair of this council. Just go for it.
I'm David Haggerla, here representing Commissioner Deborah Wanzer, and I'm the director of the Center for Policy and External Relations at DARS.
Hi, and I'm Jan Lindsay. Do I have this one?
No.
Sorry, I'm Jan Lindsay. I'm representing the Commissioner of the Texas Education Agency, whomever that may be, and I'm the Division Director of Federal and State Education Policy at TEA.
Larry Temple, Executive Director of the Texas Workforce Commission.
John Fitzpatrick, Executive Director, Educate Texas.
Good afternoon, Nelda Cantu. I'm representing our Superintendent of Schools from FAR San Juan Alamo, Dr. Daniel King. I'm the Administrator for College Readiness.
Well, thank you very much, members of the council and guests. Thank you for standing in for your colleagues at different agencies. Let me remind you as we get started with the agenda that this meeting is being webcast, so that's important to bear in mind as you make comments and as you try to communicate with not only the people here but listeners around the state. The first order of business is to consider the approval of the minutes from the April 18th, 2012 State P16 Council meeting. Do we have any changes, any edits, any modifications?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, second. All in favor? Aye. Say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Let's go on to agenda item 4, which is one of the most important issues that we'll discuss today, and certainly one of the most important issues that we will engage for the council, and that is to discuss potential legislative agenda items related to workforce, higher education, and public education collaboration. Let me say something before we turn to individuals who have some recommendations to make. We are in a transition phase for virtually all of the work that's being represented on the council. We are going to end of course exams, or we are going to end of course exams at the K-12 level. We have the end of course exams for Algebra 2 and English 3 will contain a college readiness component that TEA and the coordinating board have worked on. We will be rolling those standards out over the next several years. We have greater and greater challenges related to higher education. There was a study that came out of the U.S. Department of Education on Monday that indicated that Texas was 42nd among all the states in higher educational attainment for its youngest generation of adults. We've made progress, but we still have a long way to go. And as all of you know, President Obama has set a goal of 60% of young adults in this country having some sort of college credential by the year 2020, and the report clearly indicates that we are way behind the trend line for that goal, and we're going to have to significantly improve both college access and college completion in order to come anywhere near that goal. We have a very uneven job market. We've talked on this council about the so-called mismatch between where jobs and which fields jobs are available and the training that students are receiving both in high school and higher education to compete and to be able to do those jobs effectively. We clearly have to do something to address that mismatch, and we have to do a better job working together to make certain that students who complete any sort of post-secondary credential, whether it's a certificate, whether it's an associate's degree or baccalaureate degree or higher, have marketable job skills, whatever their majors happen to be. We've got, I testified a couple of weeks ago before a House Committee on Economic Development and Education, and one of the points I made regarding the question of whether we need to emphasize more career and technical education in Texas or more academic training, I said we need both. We have shortages in all areas. I mentioned that we had talked about shortages among truck drivers, shortages among welders. Larry could talk about any number of other areas in which we have shortages, but we also have shortages of physicians, of pharmacists, of computer scientists, engineers, scientists in basic science fields. So clearly we have an awful lot of work to do. If you look at what's going on in some of the other states, for example, the 46 states that have adopted the Common Core standards, one of the things, I was at a national meeting last week, and one of the things I heard recurrently was that the biggest challenge to implement the Common Core standards would be the inadequate training and preparation of teachers to teach up to those standards. And we will have exactly that same challenge in Texas. We have many wonderful teachers in Texas, but we don't have across the board a strong enough teaching force, teaching cadre to meet our college and career readiness standards, which are very closely aligned with the Common Core standards, so that we can expect the same challenges in Texas. As we head into the legislative session, it's less than 6 months away. We need to start making preparations for making recommendations that most fundamentally include cooperation among all the different groups, all the different agencies, the different sectors of education and workforce that are represented on this council. So I thought that today would be a beginning to have this conference, open up the conversation, and then between now and our next meeting to talk about how we would work with legislators and draft particular pieces or help draft particular pieces of legislation that would help us achieve the goals that are most important for this council and for the economic well-being of Texas and the quality of life in Texas. So with that, I know we have some members of the council that have ideas that they would like to present, and then after we're presented with the ideas, and we can talk about how we could move them towards actual implementation. So I don't have any particular order. John, I know you have a pretty full list of ideas, so why don't we begin with you?
Sure. Well, first of all, Commissioner Paredes, I would endorse and associate myself with all your comments. You know, and one of my concerns is that there's a lot of discussion about either or. You know, we need less of one and more of another. And I just think fundamentally, if we're talking about, you know, we need more technical degrees and fewer baccalaureates, that's marching down the wrong path. I think we need more four-year degrees, more two-year degrees, more technical degrees, more certificates. It's more of all of the above.
And we need to find ways to build more career and technical education courses in high school on top of a solid academic foundation, and we need to create more CT dual credit courses and so forth. So.
Yeah, so I'd endorse that. I'm also sitting next to one of the leaders in that, Far San Juan Alamo statewide, that was just featured on the PBS NewsHour. And I think one of the things that distinguishes Nelda and her team is they're working with South Texas College and the University of Texas at Pan American and Texas State Technical College and employers. So I would just say in general, I think that's probably the single most important thing that I think this entity can do. is to endorse that, provide some real examples, and protect that, and issue a strong defense of where we've been and where we're going. I guess specifically, I have one formal idea that the staff, our staff, wanted me to present, and then two other sort of informal ideas for discussion, one of which Larry and I actually talked about a little bit a few weeks ago in Dallas, that this might be a neat vehicle to forward. The one that I sent in ahead of time is around the issue of dual credit. One of the things that's working reasonably well in the state of Texas is having higher ed institutions, tends to be more community colleges but some great regional four-years, working hand in glove with school districts to get kids a jump start on college. We've got roughly 90,000 students that are taking dual credit courses statewide. Probably 20,000 or so of those are in early college high schools. There's 49 across the state of Texas. That's the part that I'm more familiar with. The joint funding for dual credit courses will sunset in fall of 2013. Right now, there's actually an incentive for both higher education institutions and K-12 school districts to work on dual credit together. Historically, there's been some concerns about sort of an unchaperoned, kind of loosey-goosey series of dual credit courses where students will take one here, one there. One of the things that we've been really impressed by in early college and other sort of stronger CTE programs, when you have a comprehensive package of dual credit courses that fit together in a sequence, those are incredibly effective, and we're seeing great results both in terms of academic achievement on our state accountability tests, in terms of the money we're saving students and their families, by getting them 1 to 4 semesters of dual credit, and we're also starting to see, so we've got the sort of tactical student data about TOX performance and graduation rates. We've got great anecdotal data from like UT Pan American and UT El Paso, where they have a disproportionate number of early college students, that these students are being successful in four-year institutions. So I would just love for this body to come out strong to extend this provision. Certainly if there's ways to do it better, but not to have the incentive to remove the sunset position and make it a permanent part of the education code. So let me just sort of pause there if there's any questions. I think one thing to think about is there may be some type of incentive to have more dual credit courses be high quality CTE. We've seen some examples. Farson one, Alamo is one. There's some in Fort Worth and Temple where they're taking more of a STEM dual credit angle, and they're really focusing on some of the workforce needs. That's not what the majority of the early college high schools we've seen done, but I think it's increasingly of interest.
Can I add something to that?
Please.
I just wanted to add some support to what John is saying by way of some very, very preliminary data that we are in the process of receiving on a study that's being done both for the coordinating board and the Texas Education Agency. And as I said, this study is not final, but some of the preliminary evidence indicates that there is a very strong correlation between students who've taken dual credit and their enrollment, persistence, and completion in college. Is really exciting because they used a control group. It wasn't limited to students in early college high schools, but it included them, and it also included other students who were taking dual credit. And so I think we're going to have some persuasive evidence to present at the time the legislature convenes to demonstrate the value of continuing along the path that Texas has taken.
And I would say, Commissioner, if at the pleasure at one of the meetings, if you would want to hear from either K-12 and higher ed together or just higher ed, I know there's been conversations with your staff about sort of the proxy for quality and the quality control, and we want to make sure we get all the the questions answered to the satisfaction of your agency and the rest of the council.
Well, I think what you're proposing is a very good idea. The person to talk to here would be David Gardner and McGregor Stevenson. They would be the people that would be able to help achieve common goals. I want to say in relation to a couple of points that you just made, there's been a lot of discussion as I've gone around the state in the past several months. A lot of discussion about both the coordinating board's position as well as the position of TEA on the 4x4 curriculum, and a lot of comment, including testimony before the legislature, that both the coordinating board and the TEA have supported a strictly academic version of the 4x4 curriculum. That simply isn't true. I can say that Commissioner Scott and I had any number of conversations about this, and where the confusion lies is that our position has been that every child in Texas should get a solid academic foundation, as represented by the recommended high school program. We believe very strongly that given what we know about the future of jobs in this country, that the best way to prepare people for a future in which individuals will change careers, not jobs, but careers on the average of 4 times during their working careers, given the fact that somewhere between 20 and 25% of the jobs that will be in high demand a generation from now don't exist. That for all of these reasons, we need to make sure that everybody has a solid academic foundation. And our position has been that the solid academic foundation can be one on which a good deal of career and technical education rests. Here at the coordinating board, we've given some attention to programs like Ignite, an engineering program which trains students to actually develop skills in engineering, in math, in not only basic sciences, but obviously in applied sciences. And we've seen that kind of program, the high schools where it's present, has encouraged students to go on and get baccalaureate degrees in engineering, but it's also encouraged students to go to community colleges and get training in some field of engineering technicianship. And we feel that these kinds of career paths and these kinds of academic tracks are equally valuable. We have, and on this council, we have never taken the position that a 4x4 curriculum simply means preparation for admission to a university or with the ultimate goal of achieving a baccalaureate degree. There is flexibility, and we're committed to increasing flexibility in the 4x4 curriculum to include career and technical education courses. But once again, with the idea that they would rest on a solid academic foundation. And I know the members of the council, like Danny King and Nelda, you're nodding in agreement. This has been the consistent position of this council. So your idea in expanding career and technical education options in dual credit courses makes an awful lot of sense.
The one additional thing I would say is I think it's really important that we make sure there's some proxy for quality and industry need. You know, because I've seen, you know, very high quality CTE courses, and I've seen, you know, ones that were an embarrassment, you know, and I think if there's something that TWC can help that's sort of a proxy for what the high skill, high need wages are, you know, if there's occupational, you know, certifications, you know, the difference between something like healthcare versus something like cosmetology, and I think that's one of the challenges now. So the second opportunity I would put out to the council for future consideration, which Executive Director Temple and I talked about, is there seem to be across a couple of the state agencies, at least 3 of the state agencies, separate game plans and strategies around STEM education. You know, there's a robust portfolio at the Texas Workforce Commission, major focus in the accelerated closing the gaps at the coordinating board, major focus at the Texas Education Agency. This might be a vehicle to sort of look at the 3 agencies' strategies around STEM and to make sure we're aligning and working together. We've also been developing a statewide framework and have had feedback from the 3 agencies at sort of both high, medium, and low levels, but this may be a neat vehicle to actually pull that together and present it.
Just to the point on the healthcare versus cosmetology. We do have that information, our labor market information, our reality check website, the information that we provide through Texas Cares and all of that's available. But I think the important thing is that we provide enough information to where parents and the students are able to make an informed decision, and us not decide what they're going to do, and us not track this group and that group, but actually put the information out there to where they can decide and see what the pay is here versus there, this job versus that job, and what the education requirements, what the cost of that training is, and let them make those decisions. So, one of the things that we're certainly committed to promoting STEM. Our record shows that, but we're also committed to being able to provide enough information where, like I said, these families can help them make informed decisions. So,
one thing I don't see happen very often at the local level is when you have a school board, a community college board, and a local workforce board that ever meet and look at alignment or misalignment. I think that would be that would be something that's a better carrot than a stick. You don't want to make it burdensome, but just right ways of, P16 councils are of varying utility, depending on the region. But how do we get these three parts of any region communicating and sharing the type of information that Larry's talking about?
Any other ideas you'd like to present? We will be happy to work with you at the coordinating board. I don't know what sort of involvement you need from TEA.
Jan's got that covered. Yeah, we can. So
okay.
I don't, and I don't know enough about a formal interagency task force versus an informal one. So it'd be great to get some help exploring that. And then the third thing, which I did put in my comments, is I'd love to be able to bring back. I'm not sure when our next meeting is. The recommendations from the Texas Teaching Commission, which relate to your first point, but those aren't fully completed yet.
Well, to add to a point that you made, John, I'd like to see us dual credit courses. I saw some literature, some clips in the past couple of weeks that talk about career and technical education courses that are interdisciplinary. They contain math, they contain some element of basic science and some element of applied science, and these courses really do give students a basic understanding of how these different disciplines relate to one another, and it prepares them more effectively for going into specific career and technical education fields in a two-year institution, whether it's a community college or a technical or career college. So,
if you could share this with the council, that'd be good. I've not seen this.
Okay. Well, actually, the Ignite program that I just mentioned does exactly that. It combines 2 or 3 disciplines into one teaching applied program. So we have examples of those already in Texas. Okay, any other comments? Okay, let's move on. Before I have some comments from Bill Floyd, as a member of the council, but I'll wait until we get to the end of our presentations here. We have something from DARS that you're going to talk about.
Yes, Commissioner Wanzer just wanted to let the council and the public know what it's not really recommendations to council, but as much as what our exceptional items are to our legislative appropriation request that, as of today, that we'll be moving forward that might have a relationship to the council. The first one is related to our early childhood intervention program, which, as you know, serves children birth to age 3 with a developmental delay. And so we will be requesting additional funds to account for growth in the eligible population within that. Just as the population of Texas is growing, so is the population of the 0 birth to 3 who have a developmental delay. So it's just to account for growth in that population. But at the same time, you may be aware that during this past year, we at the agency had to change our eligibility criteria for that program, and it, in a sense, tightened the children that were eligible. And as a result of that tightening, we see that a larger percentage of the population of children that we're serving have either multiple developmental delays or more severe delays, so they require higher number of hours of service per month. And these children were part of the population prior to, but now they're just a much larger amount of the population that we're serving. So we'll be requesting additional funds to be able to provide those level of services that this population needs. Also, DARS operates an autism program. It's a very small general revenue funded program. We have 6 contractors throughout the state. It serves children age 3 to age 8 who have a diagnosis of autism or on the spectrum. It's a very intensive program that does applied behavioral analysis for these children. And we will be requesting additional funding to fund 4 more contractors in the state. We currently have 2 in Dallas, Fort Worth, 2 in the Houston area, 1 in Austin, 1 in San Antonio, and the request will be to fund 4 more, 1 up in the Panhandle, West Texas, South Texas, and East Texas. So we're requesting that. And then the third item that we will be requesting additional dollars that relates to the council is additional fund GR to match the vocational rehab grant growth. For the first time this past biennium, we were not appropriated enough general revenue to pull down all of the VR grant that had been allocated to Texas. And we do expect in the next biennium that if we're planning anyway that the COLA increase will continue to grow that grant, and there will be a reallocation because of the change in the census number, the amount of funds that would be available to Texas. So we will be requesting just the dollars to be able to match that anticipated grant growth, mainly to focus on improving employment outcomes for youth transitioning from work to school, and also to be able to purchase new technologies to increase opportunities for the consumers to become and remain successfully employed. So that's just a kind of a quick overview. There are several other items that we'll be carrying, but these are the ones that are most closely related. And I guess one little caveat is with any state agency, these are all subject to change. They're going right now through that process. We're in the planning stages right now, and that's why Commissioner Wanzer couldn't be here this afternoon to the meeting on these exceptional items.
Well, we will be delighted to hear more about these initiatives as they take shape and endorse them and be willing to speak about them as we get closer to the legislative session. They sound like wonderful ideas, and obviously we need to make sure we take care of these children who have these special needs. I wanted to mention, and we can fold this under the work that John is doing and the Texas Teaching Commission are doing. We have to. It's my view that I've said this a number of times in meetings recently with chancellors and university presidents, as well as some community college presidents over the past several months. And this is an elaboration of what I said a few moments ago about teaching, that we are not going to reach our educational goals in Texas unless we improve the quality of instruction in K through 12, and we're not going to improve the quality of instruction in Texas unless higher education and public education work together more closely to not only produce better trained teachers when they leave our teacher training programs on our university campuses and through the other means that are available for teacher certification now, but we also need to make a new commitment to professional development of in-service teachers. And I think that in terms of making the work of higher education easier, in terms of reducing the cost of higher education, nothing would be more effective in achieving those goals than higher education and public education working together more closely to improve teacher preparation and professional development for teachers. We have a long way to go. I've talked to, as I said, I've talked to several chancellors about taking the lead on this issue. I pointed out that we've already had some very spectacular results, such as the U-Teach program at UT Austin, but we also need to work with in-service teachers. And there is nobody that's better positioned, better prepared to talk about what kinds of skills students need to have when they come onto our college and university campuses than university and college faculty. And one of the things that we've seen recur not only in Texas but around the country is that professional development for teachers is oftentimes totally disconnected from what happens post-secondary. And we need to make sure that we develop some mechanisms to achieve closer cooperation. There are several states that have vertical teams, university and college faculty working with high school and middle school teachers in the four key disciplines: math, science, social sciences, and English language arts. And they work together regularly on making sure that the curriculum K through 12 and on to higher education is aligned, and also of sufficient rigor at every step to make sure that students are prepared for what comes afterwards. I plan to work with colleagues at TEA and colleagues from Educate Texas and representatives from university and college campuses to talk about how we can develop a plan for professional development for teachers in Texas to achieve the kinds of results that I've talked about. But there's nothing more important than we can work on collaboratively than that, and make sure that we include the kinds of the teachers who work with the kinds of children that you're particularly concerned about, and make sure we do all this in one unified, coherent effort.
So we'll have some recommendations coming out of this Texas Teaching Commission. I think one thing to think about in the U-Teach example is instructive. I think one of the things that made U-Teach so successful is it was recruiting content. You know, it wasn't, I mean, the Colleges of Education was a partner, but it was the College of Natural Sciences, and both faculty and students that were coming out with content degrees or were content experts. And so I think strategically, rather than thinking about improving professional development, you know, and sort of partnering with the Colleges of Education and with the central office sort of PD folks, I think thinking about the content areas, you know, that's going to be required in the Texas College and Career Readiness Standards and end of course exams and STAR, and the idea of the vertical teams and getting, you know, math faculty at the secondary level and the post-secondary level, or English faculty, like organizing it that way, I think is a much more thoughtful and strategic way to think about it, as opposed to sort of the traditional ways. It's a lot on pedagogy as opposed to content. Not that that's not valuable, but I just think there's going to be a huge pull now for higher level content and how to deliver higher level content as the STAR and end of course exams get implemented. And so maybe just focusing on, you know, those half dozen or so areas is one way to think about it.
Yes. We had a presentation at the coordinating board several months ago by a person, I forget his name, but he's a Deputy Director of Educational Initiatives at OECD. And his comments were sobering. He pointed out that in the highest achieving, one of the big differences between the United States and the highest achieving countries in the world is the attention that we give to whom we recruit into the teaching ranks and the sort of support and professional development they get afterward. He pointed out, for example, in the United States, we tend to focus on issues such as class size, or the length of the school day, or the length of the school year. And he pointed out, for example, that Korea made a conscious decision to not pay so much attention to class size, but to worry about the quality of instruction and to worry about teacher compensation issues. And he pointed out that that's exactly what the focus should be. He said that class size, unless you have really excellent teachers, doesn't yield many significant benefits. And that if you don't have effective teachers, then lengthening the school day or the school year will not have very significant benefits either. He also pointed out that if you look at the highest achieving countries like Korea, like Finland, that they tend to recruit virtually all of their teachers from the top 10, 15% of their university classes. And pointed out that here in the United States, something like 23% of this country's teachers come from the top third of their university classes, and in poor neighborhoods, in poor communities, 14% of teachers come from the top third of their university classes. Once again, I'm not suggesting that we don't have many excellent teachers in Texas, but we don't have as many as we need. And that's one thing that we clearly have to work on. So
what kind of reception did you get from the chancellors when you were asking them to elevate this as a priority?
Well, the response that I got invariably was, we're going to take a look at this. We understand that this is important, and we will, here at the coordinating board, we will follow up with that, and we're going to continue and underscore the importance of focusing more on teacher preparation and in-service support for teachers.
I mean, if you found either institutions or specific presidents or deans that were interested, I mean, I think one thing that we could think about is to try to look at, a few key regions and try to line up some of these content vertical teams. Like I know in the Rio Grande Valley, like I think UT Pan American, has just been a great partner. And I, not that they don't have a fine College of Ed, but I think it's been other parts of the university. And so even if we can't do it in a macro sense, if you found, whether it was Lee Jackson at UNT or whoever, but if there were particular people that were interested, that's something we'd love to help. Maybe not in every region, but if there are leaders who want to do this, let's jump on it.
Well, I'm sure some leaders will emerge. We have to have more communication with our campus leaders, and but I think there's a growing awareness that K through 12 and higher education can't achieve their goals on their own. We have to work together to create better educational opportunities and better educational attainment for all our young people. Okay, I have a statement here from Bill Flores, the president of the University of Houston downtown, who wasn't able to come today. Let me just read what he asked me to report to the council, and something that he is going to work on and will bring to the council later. Here's a statement. Universities already provide reports to accreditation agencies that include surveys of employers on the success of their graduates. Moreover, there is not a one-to-one alignment of major and employer, and this is especially true in the arts and sciences, where majors may go into a field very different from their majors, such as teaching or business, yet apply skill sets acquired in college, such as oral and written communication, project management, teamwork, and multicultural and global understanding. I would urge the council and the legislature to avoid mandates or reporting requirements that ignore the fluid and restrictive nature of the employment market. I haven't had a chance to call Bill, but I was going to tell him that Commissioner Alcantara, who's sitting in the back here, and I will be talking to the Council of University Presidents and Chancellors next week. And one of the things that we're going to talk about is having more career counseling, better career advising in our colleges and universities. And we particularly want to focus on the group that Bill Flores talks about, students that are majoring in the liberal arts and the social sciences, and suggesting to those students that they need to make sure that whatever their majors are, they have to have marketable skills. And I've talked once again to some presidents about launching such initiatives as making sure that all majors have some component of their classwork that is related to marketable skills. I use the example of how from time to time universities get exercised about the poor writing skills of university graduates. And we launch these initiatives that we call typically writing across the curriculum, so that universities launch these initiatives so that students get some exposures. There's some writing requirement in whatever discipline they're working in or majoring in. Similarly, there's no reason why we can't have some initiatives in higher education that provide students marketable job skills across the curriculum. And we know what they are. We know that they include critical thinking skills, effective communication skills, the ability to solve problems, the ability to work effectively in teams, developing good work ethics. Those are all things that we can work on in higher education, and that we probably haven't paid enough attention to. We know that there are programs around institutions of higher education in Texas that are concerned about this alignment or misalignment, but it's not something that we've done systematically. We simply have to provide students in higher education better information about where the jobs are, what fields are in high demand, and which fields are not in such high demands, and how students can acquire marketable skills in whatever field they decide to major in. And Texas Workforce Commission has a lot of materials to help us in that regard.
Mr. Chairman, if you would allow me to make a really important career decision here. The chairman of my commission, Andre Alcantar, is in the audience. This is first P16, and this is, what? Is that me?
And that's the music that comes when you announce Commissioner Alcantar.
Excuse me.
Hail to the chief.
I don't know where this is going. Adele and I are just getting it here. Sorry about that.
It's like Mariano Rivera and Enter the Sandman.
So anyway, he is here in the audience, and I would like to defer to him. I got to open it up here. I'll open it up. And then meantime, we can all dance.
Just turn it off.
Well, I was trying to turn it off. There we go. Shoot. There we go. Here we go. God, quit. I never. Anyway, Commissioner Alcantar, would you please come up here? That was my career decision right there. But this is his passion, and one of the secrets of longevity at the Workforce Commission is sucking up to your chairman.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Chairman, good to see you. John and the rest of the committee, very nice to join you this afternoon. In listening back there, I'd like to start with some of your comments, Commissioner Paredes. It certainly is important that as we move forward, we do understand where we are and where we want to be as a state, and how we've gotten to where we are. We've gotten to where we are by diversifying our economy. We've done a wonderful job of really, over the past couple of decades, really increasing our ability to compete in the global marketplace in a number of different industries. We've been able to create jobs in a number of these industries, and in doing so, we're opening up opportunities for students all across different skill sets. Occupations that require individuals that can graduate from high school with core competence, ability to show up on time, good soft skills, and go to work. We've also created opportunities that allow individuals to complete high school with competence, enter into a number of our technical schools and community colleges, and acquire skills that allow them to go to work for a number of different industries. And then we do the same thing in terms of a number of occupations all across aerospace, healthcare, IT, biotech, you name the industry, oil and gas, where we need individuals with high levels of competence and demonstrated capabilities as required and as compiled through the different degree programs that we have in our universities. What I know today is that a number of the occupations that we have on our Help Wanted Online cut across a number of different industries. And there is high demand for individuals with associates and bachelor's degrees in IT. Not necessarily for just the IT industry, but for advanced manufacturing, for healthcare, for all of these different industries that are transforming themselves every day, doing what they need to do to compete. And if we look at the data in terms of where we're going to be in 2018, we're going to continue to see an accelerated transformation of our different industries. And with that, an increasing demand on individuals with unique skill sets that will require some level of post-secondary education. 2/3 of those will require a level of competence in our high schools that allows them to do the work that will result in a certificate at a trade school, at a community college or university. What does that mean? We need to have the competence in our students leaving our high school that allows them to successfully compete for a job immediately thereafter or through the work that's required at one of these institutions of higher education. So as we sit here and talk about what we're seeing today, our mission at TWC is to really understand the current market and what is happening in the different regions of the state. And we work through our partners to make sure that we're responding to the short-term needs. And we are seeing some increased demand for certain occupations that allow individuals to get on-the-job training. We're also seeing increased demand for individuals with a CDL for welding and skilled trades. But we continue again to see equally high demand for individuals with the IT degree and certificates, for nurses, for individuals that need to complete their work in order to obtain that job. So the skills gap is really quite diverse. It runs the gamut from showing up to work on time to needing individuals with very high skilled capabilities. And as we look at the data in terms of the type of jobs that are being created, a consistent component across a number of these jobs is foundational competence in STEM, in science, technology, engineering, and math. And so again, we're not just talking about the engineers, the nurses, the doctors, but we're also talking about the technicians and the mid-level skilled workers that will comprise the sweet spot in terms of the job growth moving forward. Add to that the complexity that's going to be presented to us from an aging workforce, the baby boomers, a highly educated component of our workforce. And the imperative for us is to really step up our game in terms of making sure that our students graduate ready for the challenges that lie ahead of them, for the opportunities that they have facing them. And so we at TWC commit to working with you, and you and I have had discussions, to really do a better job of working with our local partners, institutions of public and higher education, chambers, economic development corporations, the companies themselves, and other stakeholders, to make sure that we're doing things that make sense in terms of what's happening in that local community and in that region, to make sure that these kids are ready to take advantage of what is happening in the market across the state and across the country, to respond to what these global competitors are bringing to us. And we have a really unique opportunity to make some good gains in terms of what we've done to date. We do have some really good examples across the state in terms of what we've been doing, that in terms of integrating these different components in a way that provides competence, in the example of FAR San Juan, that provides relevance in terms of working with the aerospace industry and in North Texas and impacting the curriculum at 18 high schools. And in terms of providing information by including components that make students aware of what these different career paths might mean for them in terms of a job, and allowing them to have information to make an informed choice of where they're going to go in terms of what's next. So in our high schools, and as they enter our universities and colleges and technical schools, information is key. Information about what the path offers to them in terms of the degree plan, but also information in terms of why they want to complete, the relevance of completing, the importance of doing the work, and what it'll mean in terms of future employment opportunities and as they move forward. we do have wonderful examples of where we've worked together to make some gains and to have some nice demonstrations. The opportunity certainly lies here for us to expand some of these outcomes and try to take them to scale, try to really advance replication of these initiatives that are working. Ignite being a good example where we had an individual in Fredericksburg launch a rocket and really working with other schools to really expand that program. It's a wonderful example that you highlighted, but we have others, like our involvement with FIRST Robotics, for example, John, where we've really brought in employers working together with with our different high schools to inspire these students to get involved and to understand the value of these disciplines, how it relates to what is happening around them, and then to have the benefit of a mentor from industry highlight to them what they need to do to have those sort of opportunities moving forward. I really do think we have a unique opportunity to come together. John and I have talked about using STEM as a bridge among our different entities, and certainly there is great value there given its importance across these different disciplines and in the different post-secondary opportunities that these students will have. I think it really helps us also with completion in terms of being able to do the work.
Absolutely.
And so there's a couple of factors that impact completion after our high schools. We have, and I think two that really pop to mind are the capabilities in doing the work in these very key foundational areas. But as you and I were talking, Commissioner Paredes, it's having the information. So in year two of a journey, when they start thinking about what they're going to be doing 2 years from now, and they look and see what the actual occupations are, but they're not deflated because there really isn't a clear path at the end of the journey in terms of a job, or the pay isn't what they envisioned when they first signed up. But I think even in those situations, as you and I have talked about, there are ways to mitigate that and to provide very appropriate diversification of that portfolio of study by in the example of an arts major who can align themselves or enhance their portfolio by taking some courses in marketing and advertising and computer graphics, things that are very logical that might require a short-term certificate to bolster that commitment. And we know, and if you have an individual that's completing a degree of any type, you have an individual that's completed, and that's important. And to enhance that experience by investing in these other strategies to equip or bolster these programs, I think that's well worth the investment of time and effort, where our university partners can help us and where we can really make gains in terms of the work and the investment that is made in these areas. There are some very sensible things that we can do that reflect competency-based models, and we certainly support those efforts. I'm a strong advocate for efficiency and in their journey through our high schools and in our universities. And certainly, dual credit offers a very strong tool in terms of how we advance our students. And not only does it help in terms of the cost, John, but it certainly gives another reason to these students, as demonstrated in FAR, San Juan, in terms of high school completion. And there are added benefits that we need to consider as we move forward. I agree with you wholeheartedly. UTeach is a wonderful model. We've been a partner on that. We've helped with the internships because we believe it's subject matter trained teachers in these disciplines are key to moving forward, and very consistent with your thoughts on the competency and the quality of our teachers in terms of how they are able to convey the requirements that our students need moving forward.
Well, thank you for those comments. I have talked with a number of people about some very practical steps we can take in my own discipline of English. I've said, for example, that there are jobs available to students who major in fields like writing or English. There are jobs available in technical writing. The first job I got out of after I received my BA degree in English was a job as a technical writer at TRW Systems in Redondo Beach, California. And I wasn't prepared to work specifically in that field, but I had a lot of experience writing, and consequently I could make the adjustment. There are jobs available in corporate communications. There are jobs available in related to literacy and related to strong writing skills and developing websites and so forth. And we need to encourage students to take those kinds of courses and develop expertise in those areas when they do major in some liberal arts field that doesn't seem to have a direct connection to available jobs. But your comments are right on the money, and we look forward to working with you both through the council and also through the coordinating board.
I would only add that you're right. There are, in terms of the job growth that we track, it cuts across all 10 of our industry sectors over the past 12 months. We've had job growth in all 10 private sector industry clusters that we track, and if you look at professional business services, those are good paying jobs, and they're not all. We're not talking about engineers or strictly accountants or CPAs. We're talking about the broad range of services that are required to run our corporations across this country. We're a very advanced and diverse set of corporations and different businesses operating in every one of our cities across the country. And to keep these things going, we do require individuals with different skill sets. And they often, just like they do in a facility, they start somewhere and then they work their way up. Yeah. And typically it's, what do you demonstrate to an employer in terms of what you bring to the table? And I think you do a lot to distinguish yourself by finishing what you start. And I think that's another area where we can really add value in terms of the message. It's how do we get more individuals to finish what they start at all levels of engagement, and that'll pay great dividends for us in terms of all the investment that it takes to get individuals to where they are and for some reason don't finish.
Well, thank you for those comments. We will, I'll ask the members of the council who have specific proposals that we need to work on to send them drafts to me. We will distribute them to members of the council, and we will go on from there to develop them into full-fledged proposals. I want to welcome Drew Sheberly, who is representing Phyllis Snodgrass today. Thank you for coming, Drew. Let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is a presentation on a study tracking 8th grade cohorts to measure the 6th-year post-secondary graduation rate. And we have a good friend from the Houston Endowment, George Granger, and I understand that Larry Faulkner is going to participate as well. Welcome, George. Welcome, Larry, former president of the University of Texas at Austin and former president of the Houston Endowment as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Paredes. I'm glad to be here today. My name is George Granger. For the ones who are on the council I don't know, I am Director of Research and Planning and a Senior Grant Officer at Houston Endowment. Let me tell you a little bit about what Larry and I are going to do here, sort of our protocol. I've got a brief presentation followed by about a 45-second video that tells a story that we think is pretty important, and then we'll sort of follow up with some general comments by Larry, and then certainly open it up for questions and comments, and feel free to interrupt me at any time. let me get started here, and I left a copy of the report with each one of you all. Many of you all have seen this, and a number of you all, the members of the commission, have been pretty involved in this since the get-go. We released in the early part of this year, the first part of February, a report that we called A New Measure of Educational Success in Texas, tracking the success of 8th grade students into and through college. Houston Endowment sponsored this study, and we also, as part of the work, we asked a number of our colleagues in the state to essentially co-endorse and co-sponsor this study with us, and then you can see the entities that are listed on this. We're very proud of the sort of the quality of the associations and private organizations who have chosen to join us on this venture, and it's a group that represents important associations, important private foundations, and others, and the private sector and the business community in Texas. So why did we do this? Several years ago, I would say 5 or 6 years ago, we became aware of the 7th grade cohort study that the coordinating board had done on this. I think, Raymond, I believe the coordinating board's now done it 3 or 4 times.
Yes.
And we got interested in that and thought it tells a very important story. It's not well known, and so what we wanted to try is to essentially hire a third-party research house that was highly credible to see if they could gain access to the core data and replicate the study, and then assemble a group of prominent private organizations, mostly foundations, associations, and so forth, and talk about it a little bit. Try to bring awareness to these results, and instead of the 7th grade, we were advised to use the 8th grade as our starting point, because we do think that over time there's value in comparing Texas results to results in other states. How's Texas doing vis-a-vis other states? And we were advised that other states that will gain this capacity to do longitudinal student tracking, this capacity that Texas now possesses, many of them will start in the 8th grade. So that was really there's no magic for us between 7th and 8th grade. It's just alignment with other states. The data was provided by the coordinating board. Commissioner Perez, your staff has been enormously cooperative and helpful in this project, and we certainly appreciate their efforts. The analysis was conducted by the National Center for Higher Education Management Systems, NCHMS. Many of you all are familiar with them. They're out of Boulder, Colorado, a very credible, very high-end research organization. So what did we find? We found our results were fairly comparable to previous work of the coordinating board. We call this the number. We couldn't think of a better name, so we called it the number. So what we found is that the percentage of 8th grade students who earn any sort of post-secondary certificate or degree within 6 years of their expected high school graduation date is 21.9%. And what we did in this study was look at 3 annual cohorts of 8th graders. Those were the fall 2006 through 2008 cohorts. It was not a sample of 8th graders. It was everyone that was enrolled in a public school in Texas, 883,000 students. And we followed those for 11 years. How was it calculated? As I like to tell folks if you're reasonably proficient in probably high elementary, low middle school mathematics, you can do the calculation. It's simple division. The coordinating board records show that after this period
George,
of...
may I interrupt? On the previous slide, it said
Yeah.
2006, 2008, and I'm sure it's 1996.
Oh, you are correct. I'm
1990.
sorry.
Yeah.
Oops, you are correct. Thank you, Raymond. 1996 through 98, because it would be hard to find them. What we the calculation is simple. There were 883,000 beginning eighth graders in those 3 years. For each cohort was tracked for 11 academic years. The Higher Ed Coordinating Board student record systems show that 175,489 received, on an unduplicated basis, received a certificate or degree from a Texas institution. These cohorts, there was not reliable National Student Clearinghouse data available, and so we were able to get an estimate of out-of-state graduations that was provided by NCHEMS, and that estimate is 10.4%, and so we just essentially increased the Texas graduation or longitudinal completion rate of 19.9%.
George, could I throw, before I forget it?
Yeah.
One thing you may want to look at, a lot of these kids will join the military and could very well, not only out of state, but which you counted for, but could have gotten a lot of certificates or the equivalency in the military. And
we readily acknowledge that this doesn't tell the whole. This doesn't tell the whole story. There are kids that are coming out of high school that are entering the military, gaining good quality work skills, building a career, and so forth. There are high school kids that go into apprenticeship-like programs, and so we recognize that. The problem is they're hard to find. You can't count them. But anyway, so we end up with an adjusted number of 21.9% that we think is rigorous. Is the appeal to one of the appeal to us at Houston Endowment and our co-sponsors about this index is that it is a straightforward message. It represents the joint production, the joint responsibility of the two sectors, public ed and higher education. It is easy to understand. I am convinced that I can find or pull a sort of a random person off the street and explain and ask them, what we've done is identify all of these eighth grade students and followed them for 11 years and then counted how many of the original eighth graders received a degree or certificate. Do you understand what I'm talking about? My belief is that most people will be able to say yes. It's accurate, it's robust, and importantly, it's not subject to corruption or sort of statistical adjustments, and we think that makes it that sort of simple, the simple way to describe the number. The idea that it represents the production or the production responsibilities of both sectors, and it's and you can't fool around with the denominators. We don't have to worry about lever codes and things like that. Makes it pretty powerful, and of course, longitudinal tracking is really a powerful tool to use. As I said, Larry and I have talked to a lot of people, editorial boards and groups, and we do say pretty emphatically that this number is not subject to manipulation. Our belief is that there's so little confidence in, for instance, the high school graduation rates that very few people understand them, very few people believe them. Same thing with higher ed graduation rates. People don't understand how they're calculated. I do this type of thing for a living, and I cannot tell you the difference, sort of the definitional difference between a school district that's rated exemplary recognized. These only the people that are in the weeds can understand some of these concepts, but the general public, the business community, probably does not. Anyway, and Larry and we've also used this concept of there are three kinds of lies, damn lies, and statistics. This on this particular PowerPoint, I actually gave attribution, and I do think Mark Twain is right on this. And the good news here is that this is not high-powered statistics. This is simple division to calculate the results here. So what are they? As I said earlier, our results are very similar to the coordinating board's earlier seventh grade tracking. Many of you all have seen these before. Essentially what we're looking at is even with the out-of-state adjustment or the adjustment for credentials earned out of state, you start with 883,000 students and you have 193,000 completions. So you have a lot in that 883 who aren't completing during this sort of normal academic window. And we've also disaggregated it by, on this slide, by ethnicity. The report disaggregates by gender and ethnicities. I was interested in, when we look at the disaggregated results, let me go back to them. If we look at the disaggregated results by ethnicity, you see big differences in the completion rates, and certainly it's no secret to anybody in this room or to most reasonably informed Texans that our Hispanic population is young and it's growing really fast. So I was just out of curiosity, I said, what if the Hispanic longitudinal completion rate has not changed from 1996-98 to the 2010 class of eighth graders? And the difference is that in the 96 through 98, Hispanics represented about 36% of public school enrollment. In 2010, they represented about 49%. So if there has not been any improvement, my hope is that all of the good work of that you all are engaged in, and many of our colleagues, that this is not true, but I don't know. But if there has been no improvement, then essentially what you see is that that 2010 class will perform well over 2 percentage points lower than the 96, 98 cohorts. And that is a crude look. We hope it's not reality, but it's something that I think we need to pay attention to. And demographics is a huge driver here. I'd also like to point out, as again many of you all know, there are two really tough or difficult at-risk groups that have many challenges to success, are boys of color, Black and Hispanic boys. Let me just point out that in these three cohorts that we looked at, there were about 226,000 black and Hispanic boys. Their longitudinal completion rate was 8.5%, 19,000 kids. And if you adjust it for out of state, that gets you to 21,400. So the question I ask many groups is, you start with 226,000, you get about 20 to 22,000 completions out of those boys, realizing some of them military, other kinds of experiences. But what is going on in the lives? What's the future of those 200,000 who don't have completions in this period? I think that's a question we always need to sort of keep in the front of our minds. Anyway, we would also argue that certainly Texas needs a plan. Closing the gaps is a great plan. The coordinating board deserves enormous credit for putting forth that plan, staying with it for many years, but it's a higher ed plan. Texas needs an education plan. We would argue that this number is or can serve as sort of the unifying index for an education plan. I mean, you all are talking P16. What is the index that matters to you? Is there one index that the state can follow, that the citizens of this state, the business community, the jurisdictional folks, and so forth can follow, that they can understand? We would argue that this is the index that should be used, particularly since it's, as I said, it's a joint effect of public and higher education, and it is easy to understand, not subject to tinkering and so forth. Let me end with tell you a little bit about our future plans, and I want to show you a brief video. And then we'll open it up for questions or discussion. Houston Endowment is, on behalf of the co-sponsors of this report, is committed to producing this number every year. Will it change much from year to year? No, but by producing it and putting it out in the public domain, we have opportunities such as this today to talk about it, to keep it out in front of important people in the state. The report you have includes Florida data. We hope to add additional states as their data becomes available. We'll start using the National Student Clearinghouse data whenever we can get it from TEA. I think there's some issues with TEA on FERPA that they're concerned about. There's some holes in Texas's access to clearinghouse data. All of this has just come to me in the last couple of days that I think the state that we need to work on. But we hope to be able to use that so we can drop this estimate of out-of-state completions and be able to use, we really get precision when we can get the clearinghouse data. And in subsequent reports, we're going to disaggregate it by region. We're going to take the results down to the county level. The coordinating board staff is being very helpful on this in this regard. There's some counties that have very small populations, and the cell sizes get too small, so we won't be able to show that county. They would have to be aggregated and to others. But anyway, we're going to take it down to the county level so that users can build their own regions. For instance, if we look at the city of Houston's in the Region 4 Service Center, but Region 4 does not include Montgomery County, which is just adjacent to the northern Harris County. We need that data to figure out what's going on in the Houston region. So we're going to do that. And we're also going to include an income proxy in the disaggregation, essentially free and reduced lunch. So if eighth graders are coded free and reduced lunch, that will be the income proxy. So we'll be able to look at low income and all other kids. And we're also, we've hired a group to develop website that we can that we're going to put out there so that people can look at this information. They can build their own regions and so forth. And with that, before you start the video, let me tell you a little bit about this. Houston Endowment funded a group at UT Austin that did some longitudinal focus group work with high school seniors and entering community college students. What you're about to see is about a less than a minute video of a college student who gave his permission to use his words and his image. He also gave permission for the research team to look at his academic records. So let me show you this video of James. Watch how his attitude changes.
Push myself mentally.
Look at the dates.
I like to push myself mentally. I like to listen in and learn new things, and I know that's what college is all about. You know, they teach me stuff high school won't, and I'm all about learning new things. I love education, so I have to admit I was nervous too, like any incoming freshman. But you know, it's just, you know, you just got to see it as, you know, just another day at school. So like, you know, you just adapt to it. I mean, I did. It's easy. A lot of homework. I don't like homework. I mean, school's all right, you know, I like it, but it's just, you know, it's not for everybody. And, you know, I guess I'm just one of those people that it's not for. Maybe sometime later on in life, I'll pick it back up again, but, you know, just, it is what it is.
James did everything you want a high school student to do. He graduated, he applied to college, he enrolled in college, he showed up in college in August with tremendous ambition. That first semester, by the first part of November, his ambition was destroyed. James earned he dropped out in November, earned 0 credits. He said he was going to return in the spring. He did not return in the spring nor the following fall. And our view is that, again, we can't have this bifurcated system of here's what public ed needs to do and here's what higher education needs to do. I think James's story speaks to the need to better align not only the academic pieces of K-12 and higher ed, but also the student support pieces. And I really do appreciate you all listening to me today. Let me turn it over to Larry in case he has any further comments.
I'm just going to make a couple of additions. I appreciate the invitation to be here. The reason I'm here is that I was the president of Houston Endowment when this project came to fruition, and then I retired on March the 1st, and George and I have worked on presentations in parallel, and I'm taking a progressively lighter load. But anyway, let me add a couple of comments. I think that Houston Endowment was really motivated by the belief that it is really important for the public to have an index of how we're doing in educational attainment in the state that somehow can incorporate both elementary and secondary and post-secondary educational experiences, can also bring in occupational certification, not just 4-year or associate's degrees, classic academic degrees, and that is basically incorruptible. So we were really looking for an index that could do something like that. The coordinating board handed us what seemed to be the great result, and we're still very enthusiastic about this. This is something the public can understand. This is a good index. A really important aspect of why it is a good index is it also takes off the table virtually all of the philosophical arguments, the philosophical positions, the ideological positions. I'm not going to say people won't have them. It's just that the index is the index. The index tells you what reality is. And you can make up your own mind whether 21.9 is good or not good enough for Texas. You can make up your own mind about whether we ought to try to make it better in this way or that way. So there's room out there for public policy to evolve through public processes, but the index can still stand as an effective indicator of how Texas is doing. And then finally, as the chairman mentioned, I spent a period of time as president of the University of Texas, so I've spent, I'm very familiar with higher education's way of looking at educational attainment in the state. And over the years, I've become very persuaded that as Texas looks at educational performance, it needs a way of looking at it that incorporates the effects of both primary and secondary and post-secondary, so that neither side can hide from the outcome. There is a tendency, as we argue about educational performance in our state, for people on the higher ed side to point to K-12 and say, well, you're just not doing your job. And then there's the same on the other side. You know, we will get our high school graduates out, but you don't get them to completion. And I think that what I'd really like to see happen is that people do start to pay attention to this index, and that people on both sides start thinking locally about what they can do to improve performance of that index. And that's going to take partnerships across higher ed and elementary, secondary. But people can do things. They can do things in their communities that will make that number better. My personal view is 21.9 is far too low for a society that's going to really be functional in the world we're facing. We've got to elevate that. I think we can talk till late in the evening about how far higher. We don't have to worry about that. We just need to go higher right now. We need to get it better. And I think there are lots of things that can be done in higher ed and in K-12 that really target that. Now, just the last thing I'll mention is that we lose about a third of the kids that we do lose in not getting them out of high school. We lose another third from those who graduate from high school who never set foot in any kind of post-secondary experience. And then we lose another third from those who set foot in post-secondary experience who never go anywhere with it. And so there's work to be done at all levels. And I think there isn't a magic bullet. There's work to be done everywhere in the system.
Mr. Chairman? On two fronts, I'd like to, the Workforce Commission, we, under a contract with the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we do the data gathering for projections for labor market needs. And so I would love to be able, I think it'd be helpful for all involved to look at, you know, how good are we growing our own, in what areas, and what is the gap. And I think that helps the message for both sides, as you said. And the other, just messaging to these young people, to the degree that we could identify them in our wage records, because we collect all the wage records on all the unemployment insurance in an aggregated manner. We'd be really happy to work with you in being able to show these kids, here's what your earning potential, not potential, but here's what these individuals that went through this were able to earn in various cohorts. I think as opposed to the ones that dropped out, as opposed to the ones that did graduate and didn't set foot. So I think there are a lot of data there that could be helpful on several fronts, and we'd be glad to work with you on that.
Well, I really do appreciate that, Commissioner, and one of your colleagues up there, the one to your right, we've been working with on, or having some conversations with on, is there a way that we can enhance the communication of this report, subsequent reports? Can we add depth to it, such as what workforce type of information and so forth, without detracting from the simplicity of and the what we view as the effectiveness of this number? So I thank you for that offer, and I look forward to following up with you on it.
Any other comments or questions? Yeah, John.
So we were one of the endorsers, and we're proud to help provide one of the many forums to roll this out. And just to echo George and Dr. Faulkner's point, as someone who spent a lot of time working in both K-12 and higher education the last decade, I think back, Commissioner Paredes, to some of the meetings that you hosted with the leader of SREB, where you would bring in superintendents in the morning and higher ed presidents in the afternoon, and the superintendents would blame higher ed for producing teachers that weren't qualified, and the higher ed presidents would blame K-12. And I remember one of the chancellors who's no longer with us saying, well, they ought to give us the money back if the students can't do the work. And so just the system is built up. In the legislature, you've got two different committees. In communities, you've got two different systems. And it's not only K-12 and higher ed, it's 2-year, 4-year technical school and K-12. So just all the incentives and the way things are structurally set up. And we've been talking about P16, since I've been doing this for 17 years in Texas. But this is the first time I've seen a data point that makes sense. That I could explain to my mother, and this is easy to explain. So I think this is really exciting. I would love to explore ways not only with the Texas Workforce Commission, but with the Higher Ed Almanac, with the TEA publications. I mean, to me, this is a unifying number. So often data is repelling, and it pushes people away and it alienates people. I think this is a data point that could be unifying. I mean, not unifying that we're happy about the number. And the other thing I think is really important, I think it's been particularly important with Dr. Faulkner and the Houston Endowment and George with their history of supporting higher education, that this is one of the few places I've seen where 4-year, 2-year, and technical schools are put on an even playing field, and they are all valued. And we tend to, whether it's K-12 or whether it's higher education, when we talk about college readiness or college access, one, we tend to talk about 4-year degrees. 2, we tend to discredit, dishonor, or value less 2-year and technical school degrees. And I think that's one of the great gifts and opportunities with this study, is it says these are all good. You need to get one of these. So I think there's a lot of value, both in sort of things that are easy and intuitive, and some things it doesn't do, and some things that it doesn't say that I've not seen other things like this do.
And I think that's a very important point, John, and that I did not make in presentation. I mean, this number values all completions, any type of completion equally. Larry and I personally, we personally think, yes, this number needs to be a lot higher. Texas needs a lot more of all types of completions. You all mentioned that earlier today, and I think that's another sort of one of the elegant aspects of this number, I think.
Well, our civilian labor force today is higher than it's ever been. We're at almost 12,500,000 people, and the IRS says 1,000 people a day net are moving to Texas. Yeah. And so, the pipeline, are we growing our own for economic development? I mean, this is a economic development issue as well as an education and a survival issue for a lot of these young people.
Life issue.
I agree.
Any other questions or comments? Well, I think, as both of you know, I think this is a wonderful idea. It's brilliant because of its very simplicity. I have a tendency sometimes to blurt things out that cause consternation among my colleagues at the coordinating board. But we can certainly publish this number in the almanac.
Terrific.
We can look for ways that TEA can also underscore the significance of this particular number. We can. I don't see any reason why we can't align with you instead of starting with the 7th grade cohort. Particularly if it's more standard practice around the country, start with 8th graders, and we can simply align with that practice and just emphasize the number as the simplest indicator and the clearest indicator of how we're doing in terms of overall educational attainment. I think it's a very effective indicator, and I pledge to you that we will, the coordinating board will work with the Houston Endowment and other educational partners to call attention to the significance of this number.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Commissioner.
Do you have any other questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Let's now turn to the last item on our agenda, which is the presentation on Pilot Project Hire, which stands for Helping Individuals Reach Employment. Assume you're Jim Hannafy, correct? And a colleague of yours, please introduce yourself.
I'm Laura Villarreal.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jim Hannafy. I'm the Assistant Commissioner with DRS, Division for Rehab Services at DARS. And I'm going to just make a few introductory comments and then turn it over to Laura for the presentation. Of course, we're the Vocational Rehabilitation Program for the state of Texas. We are charged with helping people with disabilities find and keep employment. As far as the youth and transition, if you're going by the federal definition, we 16 to 24, we serve about 28,000 people a year. If we look just at kids that are in high school for this year, we're currently serving about 15,000 students with disabilities. As you know, probably the dropout rate for students with disabilities is almost twice the rate of for folks without disabilities. And although students with disabilities are going to college in higher numbers, that is not the case for students with intellectual disabilities and other developmental disabilities. And some college programs have made attempts at providing what they call the college experience for students with developmental disabilities, but that has not yielded very good results. Concurrently, within our system, we've devoted probably much of the past 6 years to retooling our approach to helping people with disabilities to go to work, and have developed what we're calling the dual customer approach. And essentially that means is that we're working with the person with a disability as a customer and then treating business as our customer. And what that has yielded for us have been a huge growth in opportunities for people with disabilities to work in all levels of business in the Texas economy. For a wide number of reasons, diversity is in, and disability is included in that. And some of the reasons, of course, are despite what you hear, there's very often a lack of qualified workers for key positions, and I think you all have talked about that today. Businesses are very interested in looking like their customers, and as disability continues to grow and becomes kind of part of the natural human condition, companies want to reach out. And in many situations with our business customers, we've been able to show them considerable savings by reducing turnover in key positions, by helping them find qualified applicants with disabilities. How this ties to students with developmental disabilities is that very often in the school system, and very often sort of culturally, these folks are slated to entry-level positions. And that's perfectly appropriate for those folks who want to do that. But there are many other students with disabilities who would like to obtain a certificate or a college degree. We applied for this grant that you'll hear about here because our staff had a vision of using a community wraparound model that is similar to those that have been successful in helping people stay in the community and applying this to a university setting and also employment. We really believe that this is going to lead to students with disabilities getting degrees, getting certificates, and having better paying jobs and higher levels of self-sufficiency. One of our targets, certainly within DARS, is to not only help people go to work, but help them go to work in jobs with benefits that will have a higher degree of self-sufficiency. Laura Villarreal is the transition program specialist in Region 5, which covers from San Antonio all the way south, and she and her colleagues are the ones that put together this grant, and Laura is the project manager, and I'd like her to present the information.
Well, thank you again for having us today to speak about this grant. We're very excited about it. DARS Project Hire, Helping Individuals Reach Employment, is a 5-year grant that was awarded to DARS by the Texas Council on Developmental Disabilities. It will allow us to serve individuals between ages 18 through 25 in Hidalgo County, those individuals that want to attend South Texas College and reach and achieve employment. I don't have to tell you about the direct correlation that there is between individuals that drop out of high school and aren't able to achieve sustainable employment. And you can see on this graph through the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics in 2011 showed us that individuals with some college were able to achieve sustainable employment at twice the level of those that had a high school or didn't have a high school diploma. And those with a bachelor's degree or higher level of education had double the rate of employment and stability as those that did graduate from high school. So why are we so excited about Project Hire? Project Hire is a grant that's going to serve specifically Hidalgo County, and I was visiting earlier with NALDA where some great things are going on in that region. It has a very high poverty rate of 35%, more than double that of the state. The per capita income is under $14,000, and unemployment rate is at 11.6%. Only 60% of the individuals there between the ages of 25 and older have a high school diploma. So you can see why we would target this area for this grant. The grant will allow us to, first of all, serve those individuals with developmental disabilities, but also it's really served as a forum for us to develop relationships with local businesses and collaborate with individuals in the community. Our partners for the grant are some of the partners that you all have already spoken about earlier, such as STC and University of Texas Pan Am. They have been with us since the forefront, as well as Workforce Solutions. Catherine Fillett is a disability navigator in that county and has just been phenomenal. She's also a co-chair on our project advisory committee. South Texas College is somewhat unique in that it offers over 40 certificate programs and over 50 associates programs. So it's a great starting place for our youth with disabilities. And University of Texas Pan Am will be offering our students the educational coaches. So each one of our students, and I'll go into more detail about this later, will have an educational coach, which we feel will even out the playing ground for our kids so that they'll be able to be as successful as a youth without a disability. On board, we also have McAllen Independent School District, Sherryland, and FAR San Juan Alamo ISD, who gave us letters of support early on. Community Accessibility Group, Sonia Quintero is our co-chair, along with Catherine, on our PAC, and she's helped us to meet the needs of our individuals with hearing impairments. Access Granted is the resource that's assisting us with the adaptive equipment that so many of our individuals will need due to their developmental disability. And on board, we also have our national expert, Dr. Paul Wayman, and our project evaluator, Lynn Fisher. So as I said, our project advisory committee consists of 14 members. It's a cross-section of that community. They will, in the end, help us achieve sustainability so that we can go on with this program even after the grant ends. Individuals on the PAC consist of our local disability community, educational institutions, our workforce board, area businesses, and we also have a DARS consumer that's part of the PAC. Services that our participants will receive include individual person-centered planning, which really helps our participants identify a vocational goal that's consistent with what they want to do and what we feel they're capable of doing. We're also offering summer college and employment readiness training. Our participants attended that this summer, and they'll be graduating at next Friday. And that has been, I think that will make so much of a difference for our kids because they'll get acclimated to the college culture. Simple things that we may take for granted, like transportation and registration and applying for financial aid and all of those things. They also were able to participate in self-determination training, which will empower the youth to advocate for themselves while they're on campus. And of course, the career exploration. As I said, they're going to have one-on-one educational coaches. They'll have an STC liaison, which is also key because so many of our kids end up in classes where the professor or instructor maybe unintentionally doesn't give them the support that they need. So they'll be able to follow somewhat of a roadmap to get in that class where they'll get the supports that will benefit them. And we also have our business mentors on board. The business mentors will truly be a key to the kids' success because we're identifying vocations that are consistent with the jobs that are available in the local labor market, but also that kid will be able to shadow somebody that's truly working in the field already. We did a visit earlier this week when I was in the Valley. It was a young man that is working at Jack in the Box, making minimum wage, and he really wants to pursue becoming a chef. And a local employer that owns a restaurant there, it's a restaurant/spa, agreed to bring him on so he could actually be mentored by a chef and see what the job entails. This is an individual that's had a very challenging life. Dad's incarcerated, mom's deceased, and really, really wants to make a difference and just doesn't know how. Some of the other services that we're providing, as I said, the job shadowing and work study. We're also going to have monthly team support meetings that will consist of the family, UT Pan Am educational coaches, the STC liaison, the STC department chairs, and the DARS counselors. And any of you that are familiar with the Valley, you know that the family is really a key part of that kid's success, and it's so important that we get them involved as well. Many of the kids that we're working with are first-time college students, first-generation college students. So getting the family acclimated to the culture there at the school is essential. And of course, we're going to provide job placement services. In selecting our participants, the first criteria that we had to meet was that the individual must have a developmental disability. And according to TCDD regulations, that means the individual must have a mental or physical disability or a combination of both, and the disability must impact 3 or more areas of their daily living and have an onset before age 22. The individual must require extensive ongoing services, and the disability can be foreseen to continue indefinitely. So that was the first criteria. We were definitely looking for individuals that had significant disabilities. Also, the individual completed an application process. They had to provide letters of recommendation, participate in an interview, they attended an orientation, and they had to agree to comply with the program requirements. Ray Cantu is one of our participants. He's a graduate from PSJA. Ray has a visual impairment along with cerebral palsy. His teacher, Hampton Huddleston, was just phenomenal and so supportive of Ray. And I was sharing also with Nelda that I really hope that he gets some accolades for everything he did to help Ray get to the orientation and to just kind of get through the application process. Ray's vocational goal is to become a computer-aided drafter, designer. He's already been set up with a mentor at ERO Architects. And in order to make sure Ray is completely equipped with everything that he is going to need, he's going to participate in his tech evaluation next week for adaptive equipment to make sure he has all the supports that he needs in the college setting. And next I wanted to show you a short video on Project Hire that was actually put together through Texas Workforce Commission.
is Anna Castillo. I'm so excited of joining Project Hires because I want to pursue a career that helps me to get a job.
My name is Jose Luis Elizondo Jr. and I'm excited for Project Hire because it could help me succeed in my future goal.
My name is Leo Sotos Jr. I'm excited for Project Hire. My goal is to be a diesel mechanic at STC.
My name is Reinaldo Cantu. I'm so excited to be in the Project Hire because that will help me gain the skills to be a well-rounded student and be a good, employable individual.
My name is Elizabeth Muñiz and I am excited about Project Hire because I'm going to get help to go to college and to get my certificate and to be independent.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Solis and I'm really excited about Project Hire because my family and my sister, they're all encouraging me and motivating me, help me plan for college and see what my interests are and see what I can be successful in and see what my skills are. And I want to see the different things that I'm interested in. And if I find what I'm interested in, I'd like to get a certificate and so I can be successful.
My name is Abel Garza and I'm excited for Project Hire because I'm excited to go to STC and I also hope to get a certificate for computer technology and I also want to apply for a job.
I'm excited about Project Hire because I like to get into STC. They can and help me out. I mean, socialize with everybody, with the deaf, with different cities. I mean, get to know La Jolla. I mean, I'm interested in what classes like mechanics class. I mean, I'm excited about being there, about helping, about doing that type of stuff. I'm really interested in doing all of that.
My name is Katie Alanis, and I'm excited about Project Hire because it will help me get a career in the medical field as a radiologist tech or a radiologist assistant. It will also help me accomplish school and accomplish my career goals.
My name is Gibran Salinas. My sign name is Gibran. I've had a lot of ups and downs in my life, and I'm really excited to go to STC. Really like maybe UPS, FedEx, but if I were to get to go to college at STC, I would like welding. At college, I would like to study welding.
Hi, my name is John Rega, and I want to go to SSU to get a degree. My hobbies are playing golf, workout, running, yeah.
So our grant was awarded to us August of last year, but January was truly our kickoff. Our educational coaches were hired at that time. In March, our applicants were interviewed, which I have to say was just the two most phenomenal days I've ever had on the job. We identified the candidates, and they were introduced in April at our PAC meeting. The summer training started in January, and like I said, they're going to be graduating next Friday. We decided to give them 2 weeks of summer break before school really gets started. And in August, they start STC. And our relationship with the employers, of course, is ongoing, locating them. And again, Workforce has been phenomenal in helping us with that piece. And there's just so many people in the community that want to step up and help. So there's been no shortage of assistance. One of the things that I wanted to touch on was the replicating successful model for collaboration. I think that what has occurred in Hidalgo County can occur anywhere in the state of Texas or in the nation. As long as you have partners that understand the common goal and are willing to break down the silos and work in partnership, I think that it's very possible to happen anywhere. And we're excited to see what's going to happen over the next 5 years. So
there's one of the reasons we're particularly excited about this is we're pretty much a learn by doing organization, and we call it replicating success. But we have had considerable success in creating a pipeline directly from school to hire for a lot of students with disabilities, and we've also been pretty successful in helping students who traditionally go to college and get degrees find employment. But this is that middle group of students. And we're very excited because what we're going to learn here about community collaboration and also just what it takes to support somebody is going to have implications across the state. So we're very excited to go to a county and that has challenges but also pulls together and also work with students with significant disabilities and make it happen. I guess we'll entertain any questions if you have any.
Questions?
Yes.
So this was a phenomenal video and just touched my heart.
I cry every time I see it.
Yeah, just appreciate you doing it. I've got a family member. It's got a developmental disability, so it just really connects. Sort of seeing those kids in the videos. My question is: have you looked at all at the College and Career Academy model that STC is doing?
I don't believe so. We have Paul Hernandez, who's over the counseling department, has helped us a great deal. And we naturally went over to the Disabled Student Services Department, but that's certainly another idea that there's such a large community college.
STC just does phenomenal work, and is just I think one of the best community colleges in the state of Texas. But one of the programs that they're actually doing with FAR San Juan Alamo that we've been involved in and support of is it's called the College and Career Academy, and they're working with students that have dropped out. Okay. And so it's sort of 16 to 26, but there was a policy change, I think in 2007 or 2009, that enables school districts to get WADA, weighted average daily attendance, for students up to age 26. So what they've done is the partnership between the school district and the college. Most of these students are, sort of 18, 20, 22. So they're quote unquote over age at a school students. I assume over the time period, a fair amount of your students are going to be over 18. Mm-hmm. This is another potential revenue source. Okay. Especially since you've already got 3 school districts and STC working together. I'm not exactly sure how the resources flow.
I will go ahead and share this information. We have what we call transitional college counselors that are housed at STC and at the university. And so they work directly with those students that transition, that group of students that is transitioning from high school to college or that are at college, whether it's at STC or UT Pan Am. And so I will share this information with them so that they can connect with those students and those particular departments that are working with them to provide that additional support.
But it's also a revenue source.
Right.
That you can draw down potentially for your students, the WADA, either by STC or the school district or sharing it. And the College and Career Academy program it's up to like 8. Jan actually knows more than I do. It's like 800 students, right?
Great, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I have a couple of quick questions. Assuming that you find that this program does have the kind of success that you're projecting at this point, what kinds of sources of funding are you going to tap in order to broaden the scope of this program and take it to a wider level broader level in Texas? Would you look for state funding? Would you look for federal funding? Are there programs at the federal funding sources at the federal level that would enable you to take this statewide or at least more broadly than South Texas?
There's a number of possibilities that we're exploring. First of all, of course, we are the federal VR program, and so we have client service funds, and we'll expend those funds to help a person receive training, go to school, and we do a lot of that for direct training, pre-employment training at businesses, so that's one option. The other thing that we're beginning to explore is that we're part of the national organization, which is called Council of State Administrators for Vocational Rehabilitation, and we have what's known as the NET, or the National Employment Team, and we take a one-company approach to working with businesses across the country. And we have begun to have discussions with the U.S. Business Leadership Network, which is a business-to-business model where businesses talk to each other and work together to promote hiring people with disabilities. And there's considerable interest on the part of businesses now to begin to not only hire folks with disabilities, but to have a financial stake in it. And so there's one of the challenges we have to look at with this project is cost per student. And so we want to be able to look at what it takes to bring a community together, what resources we can pull from the local community, and then other sources of funds. So there's a number of opportunities to replicate this.
Oh, good. That's wonderful news. Well, I can tell you you've picked some great educational partners, both at the K through 12 level and higher education. STC and UT Pan Am are great institutions with wonderful leaders who I know care very deeply about the students that you're working with.
As an outsider, I go down there, and it's just a community that says, "Well, what do you need? Okay, we'll do it." Very, very phenomenal. Well,
in the course of your project, if you run across any stupid higher education rules that inhibit your students from being successful, please let us know. But it sounds great, and it's inspiring to see these young people get their hopes up and working hard to achieve their career goals and to be as independent as possible. That's great.
We think good policy comes from good practice, so we figure we'll learn, and that'll help us shape our policy.
I think that's a very good strategy. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Wanzer just thought it was very important that this project be shared with the council, the P16, because so many of our partners down there are partners here on the council, and there's so much energy down in the valley. They are doing so many. They're really the leaders nationally for the innovative things that are being done with strategies to assist students in staying in college and moving forward. And this project in particular, I've just never seen all my years working with the state, the energy of the staff and the Division of Rehab Services, Laura and Leanne and all the staff. They were going to make this grant happen, and they were going to make this work no matter what. And they were so committed, and they had the support of the assistant commissioner in doing this. And it's gotten so much energy in the community. They have testified before Representative Pena's House Committee on Technology, talking about use of assistive technology to help these students. And so she wanted them to have the opportunity to come and share what we're doing down there.
Well, it's a very exciting program. Congratulations on the grant and the implementation so far. And once again, please let us know if we can help. You've got the three agencies that would be could be effective partners for you represented on this council: TEA, the Texas Workforce Commission, and the Higher Education Coordinating Board. So I'm sure I speak for all three agencies when I say if we can help in any way, please let us know.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Particularly as you take this program to scale.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Well, thank you very much for the information. We have gone through the agenda. I hope that you will all follow up as I indicated before with your ideas for possible legislative proposals. And please get those to us so we can start vetting them among other members of the council. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. You move? All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you very much.